Hey guys, it's your boy M.K.S here, back in another video. Here in the UK where I live, it's been crazy weather today, I think, because like it was snowing in the morning, and then it was sunny, and then it was hailstone, and then it started snowing again for a bit, but it didn't really settle much. But it looked like it might settle for a while, but I think a little bit settled, but it doesn't last very long here in the UK when we get snow, unfortunately, because I love snow. But strangely, I love blue skies, but I also love snow. Anyway, I thought I'd talk about the weather for the intro, but as today is the last day of March, unfortunately March didn't go as well as I would have liked it, because liked it to have gone, because I talked about March to victory or March to very victory and things like that. But yeah, as it's the last day and it's between March and April, and a while back, I think last year or maybe in the year before, I think it was last year, I decided that, in fact, it may have been 2020, I decided that each certain months I wanted to dedicate to support certain groups. So January, February, and March was to support the Black diaspora, especially in Africa, and February specifically in America with the the African American community, and April, May, and June to support Asia. Anyway, I don't want to go through the full list because otherwise it would take too long. But so yeah. I say because it's the last day of March and we're approaching April, I plan to talk about my desire to network Africa and Asia together, and these are some ideas towards connecting Africa and Asia together as much as possible through Egypt, because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think that Egypt is the only transcontinental country between Africa and Asia, or in both Africa and Asia. A lot of people think it's in Africa, a lot of people think it's in Asia, but I think it's actually between the two. So it's actually like sort of connecting. So symbolically, I think it'd be great for transcontinental countries generally, on that note, to be a bridge and connect different continents together through, like, with trade and things like that. Anyway, with that being said, as someone who is both a Pan-Asianist and a Pan-Africanist, which I hope for my fellow mutts or mixed race people to be, I hope to cover some ideas about how maybe Africa and Asia can connect together, look at what they have in common, like the fact they were colonized anyway. So without further ado, without any more of my waffling, here are some ideas for what Egypt could do to bridge the gap, or to basically to network together Africa and Asia. So here goes. So number one, I dream for them to look at ways to promote both Pan-Africanism and Pan-Asianism, and to host as many events as possible, hopefully in the future, where as many African and Asian nations come together in Egypt to discuss how Asia and Africa can work together on a range of issues. Number two, for instance, what they can learn from each other, what they have in common, like the fact they were colonized and things. I might mention that point a few times, but and just generally what they can learn about each other's industries, how they can network, how they can trade, share ideas, invest together, share resources and things like that. This could include like working on areas like technology and lobbying together, and being involved in international communities like the UN or other such international communities, and talk about having a seat at the table for, I think, two of the largest I know Asia is the largest populated continent. I think Africa is actually the second. I'm not 100% sure about that, but yeah, so how they can network together, approximately about 5 billion people, how they can have a voice, and how their politicians can give them a voice in international affairs, so they can have political representation, empowerment and rights, and work together, and look at ways like, for instance, how one of my ideas is that that people of color, P.O.C, or minorities generally, would be able to donate as much of our taxes as we want to towards African and Asian nations, or empowering where our ancestry is from. I'd love for people to be able to choose much more where their tax, or I'd love people to be able to choose, full stop, pretty much almost 100% where their own personal tax money goes, within reason, obviously not to their own business or to their own area, but towards things like what they want to choose to pay for. So like if pacifists or conscientious objectors like myself would not have to pay towards militaries or weapons trade, wars and things like that. Anyway, moving on, number four, on that note, actually, I think it'd be great also for African and Asian nations to work towards peace, talk about their own personal goals and aspirations for their country, for their own nations, or country, nation, whatever you call it, and how they can support each other to reach their own, to network together to reach goals, to form committees or think tanks or cooperatives or networks or brainstorms or whatever you want to call them, which work towards making peace, solving border disputes. One thing they could, for instance, is like, say, unfortunately, there's conflict between countries like China and India where they, I think it's, I'm not sure what the area is called, I forget, but it's somewhere in the Himalayas, I think, where they had like a bit of conflicts over disputed territories. But I think it'd be great instead if those disputed territories all across Africa and Asia were used to, instead of being divided, and how we were divided in the past as people of colour, how they can use those areas to actually network and trade and invest and have drills like counter-terrorism drills or training or things like that, and improving security and things like that. So I think that would turn, excuse me, those negative areas into positives. Number 5, I hope this will benefit Egypt itself, but I also hope it will benefit those countries that were colonized and also across Asia. Try not to repeat myself too much, but yeah, so I think a few times to organize myself. Sorry, it told me I might something wrong with my connection. I don't know if that's true or not because I could see the timer, but it said something was wrong with my connection. But anyway, number 6, yeah, I'd love for them to work together towards shared goals and improving each other's opportunities and supporting each other to improve their economies and their way of life generally, and to promote things like human rights and which I forgot to mention in point number 3. But anyway, yeah, human rights and freedoms, libertarianism and things like that. But yeah, so hopefully it'll be a positive thing, as I say. And also, as a fan of Italian football, as I often mention, I would love to encourage somehow improved relations between Italian football and Africa and Asia, and like to encourage people from across Africa and Asia as a reward for supporting them for them supporting Italian football, to support Italian football. Sorry. Number 7, and the same for Celtic as well. I'd love for them to support Celtic across Asia and Africa, maybe as a reward for me supporting their work, and the fact that Celtic is also an anti-imperialist team. And also, I would love for them to have to promote human rights for all minorities: Muslims, Hindus, Jains, Buddhists, Jewish people, Sikhs, Christians, or any other group, and to come together in spite of their differences and look at how they can help to improve their way of life, tackle violence and crime, and like encourage sympathy and empathy where they don't go to war with each other or fight each other or treat each other bad as people. And be more united, as I say, what divided us in the past will hopefully help us to be united instead. And yeah, that sort of thing. And number 8, again, I'd love for people across Africa and Asia to support Italian football and Celtic as much as possible, and I would love to promote those across Africa and Asia. But also things like African and Asian industries. And number 9, this includes celebrating poets, artists, poetry, art, and other such things that have been created across Africa and Asia, and yeah, how they can learn from each other, network and trade, and like support each other's African and Asian music and the African and Asian music and film industries and things like that, and other such industries. Again, support creatives and poets and writers, authors, architecture, and other such projects, designers and things like that, architecture projects and architects and that sort of thing. And number 10, I also dream that they will support the 10% poorest people in all possible Asian and African nations, and they'll discuss how they can tackle poverty, support their poorer communities, support their minorities, and also discuss things like women's rights, education for women and girls, empowerment in entrepreneurship, how they can network and trade and invest together, hopefully, in the most positive way, hopefully, and yeah, support animal rights, sympathy, empathy, compassion, alleviate suffering, and spread positivity, peace, love, joy, and things like that, and hopefully make the world a better and including a happier and more joyous place. Sorry if that's really corny, but anyway, I am out. Peace and love.